Oh, hi there. Hello, global player. What are you doing here? No, really, what are you doing here in this video? There's nothing coming out this week on global. You guys had just like what, 2 weeks of like 8 characters ish. It's like 7, right? 7. Why would you be here? There's nothing. Go away. Shoot. Shoot. Wait a minute. Is there something this week? Can't be something this week. Let me check. Oh. Well, I guess that makes this a should you pull video. All right. Yeah, you should pull. You should pull. All right. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember to ring that bell for instant notifications whenever a video is published. And yeah, see you. All right. Thanks. I know it says stream is over, but this is a video over screen. Yeah, thanks for watching. What? That's not enough for a video? I have to go at least 10? Alright, so let's have an incredibly pointless video. Now, I know everybody is really probably pulled out, phrasing, because obviously there's Halloween units coming up, and we have whatever limited stuff JP has, which is always tempting for the future. And we just have Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy Tactics characters. So you may be wondering why the Azure Spear of Reform Glassy would remotely be wanted. And I can't remember what JPers are calling her. It's like Flagsy. Something along those lines, and the simple reason is because she is one of the best characters in the game. Recently I did a video about the JP elemental meta, and Glassy is one of those perma-wind units. Whenever you see a wind-based party, unless the person is incredibly unlucky or just didn't invest on this character at the time, this is one of the more closer to you should get this unit, almost what some games would call a must pull unit. This is what I would definitively call a must pull unit for wind. I don't remember if I called Sadali back at the time, because Sadali, I feel like you can sometimes get away without him if you went for a more limited cost of some other healers, such as a Woo girl, who will be coming back very shortly. But this is one of the characters. I mean, with these recommendations, it comes down to a lot of the time of a question of popularity and a question of how good. And characters like Mashuri are usually a little bit more debatable about both the popularity thing and how good they are. But Glassy is really the real deal. She is about as close to a must-pull unit as I would say, almost along the borderline the lines of Astria. So taking a look at her, Resolute Flag Bearer, which is a new job, Trick Lancer, which has a lot of range and some high power on it, Nightblade, which has some really good abilities. All across the board, Glassy just has really an incredibly good series of jobs. And even just looking at the image, or just what you get on the global information side, Valkyrie Burst deals large damage, Elemental Chain persists for 1 turn. I mean, that limit burst alone really needs to be said that it is the most valuable limit burst in the entire game for guild raids and everything like that. It is revolutionary, and to this point on JP, she's still the only unit that has that ability, making her incredibly unique and really awesome. Basically, if you start a chain on an enemy and the enemy gets a single turn, the chain doesn't break, and that's really, really cool on its own. So first of all, that's really unique, and that's still very good on JP. You look at Shining Conviction, which lowers a target's wind resistance for 3 turns, then deals 2 hits of damage. I mean, you have Chaining with piercing damage here, and it's just high powered. You have Azure Soul, which bestows AP hit on a critical, and she's very good at getting criticals, but also just the 3-turn barrier on her. This makes her really difficult to kill, but you know what? I have a Glaciela. This is a unit that I went out of my way back when she came out to get, and this is one of the units that I can say long-term into the future, and yes, Tifa doesn't have a piece of equipment on her. I know, I'll fix it later. This is just one of the best units in the entire game. You look at her weapon, which also has some tailor bonuses for her, such as reaction block and AP related effects, and all of that is really nice. But you look at her stats, and this is without Odin, because I think I have Odin just on 2B. We were to just flip it around for a second here. You know, I mean, effectively, she has incredibly high speed. She's incredibly offensive. She's incredibly defensive. And in terms of PvP, just crazy good. Yeah, I mean, this character, if you have June, if you are any sort of a wind player, I almost 100% recommend this as a must pull. And the reason why I say almost is because if this is wind is just not your element and you're missing quite a few wind damage VCs, this could be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, wind is just the gold standard on JP right now because of the combination of units that it has. And of course, there's still the 90 cost VC next week, which improves both fire and wind with Dark Tetrasulfide. And Dark Tetrasulfide is, of course, the premium choice for the new version of Glaciela. Incredibly great, incredibly strong, but just could be very, very costly since, you know, 100 cost units are difficult to pull. If you want proof of that, go check out my Pyrene pulls. But not only that, as it turns out, I watched a whole bunch of other JP streamers. Quite a few people apparently had trouble pulling Pyrene, so I don't know. I guess it's nice in solidarity for just healing. But talking about her skill set of just the fact that support has AoE resistance, accuracy up, defense penetration, critical rate, defense penetration, attack evasion, she can nullify confusion and stun, which is kind of interesting. Her counter just being, you know, reflex, where she can avoid all physical and magical attacks if she's lucky enough, and you'd be surprised how many times. But in her main kit, you have Dispel of all buffs, haste, physical and magical barriers. You have slash magic resistance up while increasing attack for herself, making her difficult to kill. You can remove Immortal Spirit off of targets with a higher hit chance, so she can deal with evasion characters pretty effectively. Reduced her own damage taken by 50%. 3 times, which is pretty strong. Even if she does get her own barrier removed, I mean, she can just cast it again, or potentially, you know, just kill the opponent and remove their barrier as well, so that's kind of cool. Piercing damage with auto revive removal, and of course wind resistance down. That's all on the main part of her kit. She also can cast slow on opponents with an AoE attack, which is pretty strong. And some of her attacks that are chaining attacks are also AoE ones with a good amount of flexibility, and her teleporting to the panel, which is just really, really good, as it turns out, because she can potentially get multiple opponents with a single move, and that's very strong. Trick Lancer also gives her some extra damage capability with decreasing agility and attack on opponents. Decreasing AP on opponents if she gets a critical hit, which again, she is very capable of getting critical hits. Breaking physical barriers even in Trick Lancer and Nightblade. I mean, Nightblade doesn't really have too terribly much. The strongest thing I would say in her Nightblade is that she does have stun, piercing, and missile resistance, potentially for herself and allies, which makes herself and allies very difficult to kill. And I mean, last thing is just reducing counter which is very strong. Having the ability to reduce counter on some enemies is very, very good. This is just one of the strongest units in the game, period. Even currently on JP with, Warrior of the Crystal, she's almost, I would say, like pseudo Warrior of the Crystal good, because a lot of her kit is just good in every sense of the word. I mean, like just her limit burst alone extending elemental change would probably be enough to recommend her for PvE, but she can still deal a ton of stuff to get rid of some of the nastiest things that opponents can currently do on JP, and those things are worth noting. A lot of enemies into the future are starting to get things like re-raise or barriers or all of this. So Glaciela is good in all of those PvE settings. She's also good for all of those PvP settings, but she's a capable damage dealer. I think with just the thing that she gets her own 90 cost VC. I will say this though, as my final recommendation for her in this video, she is good with or without the 90 cost VC. I have been running her for a very long time on JP. In some PvP and some PvE content, she's almost like, for me, without Sadali, it's always Joom and Glaciela if I'm running a wind party, with third unit potentially being a bonus unit or something along those lines. But I just really, really want to stress, Flag Glaciela is 100% worth it. If you do go, I would say that she's even 100% worth it, even if you do need to pity her. Is she mandatory for everyone? No. I mean, there's 8 elements in this game and not everybody plays every element, so don't worry about it. She's also a permanent addition to the pool. She's just a really good off banner into the future. But I have to say that she's one of the things over the course of JP, looking back on certain banners, some banners that I've gotten right on my predictions and some banners that I've gotten wrong on my predictions. Velis is one of the ones I've gotten wrong and would consider to be an incredibly as close as possible to a must-pull unit. Astrius, Joom, also that. Dark Helena would be, and Ildira even back in the day. Flag Glaciela is about as close to a must-pull Wotv unit as you can potentially get, given that there's 8 elements in this game and some elements are stronger than others. Wind is just really good, and there are potentially more earth units coming in the future. And even if Wind's off elemental matchups, even against ice, really aren't that bad if you have the full combo of Joom, Sadali, and Flag Glaciela, and can be potentially even combined with fire units, with the combination of some of the job and elemental or vision, dual elemental vision cards such as Dark Tetraselphid. The wind element is very strong into the future and feels like a pretty easy recommendation, but hey, it's Glaciela, one of the most popular units in the game. I'm pretty sure that some globalers will be pulling for her. You know what? There's probably Halloween units right after this one, so get ready for that global too. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time. I'm going back to sleep.